morning, Sister Jackie Phillips.
Good morning, Sister Jody Screech.
Actually, Jacqueline Phillips.
Jackie's okay.
Jackie's okay.
Yes.
Well, I call you the Jackie of all trades because you are here on campus, and then you are at another place on campus, and then you pop up at another place on campus. And the sisters in Maria who are in the balcony for Mass, they see you at every funeral because there you are counting heads, correct?
Right. Seeing how many people will be there for luncheon at Madden.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, if not knowing any better, that you are the director of campus hospitality.
That's a good way to put it,
Is
Jody.
it?
Because I'm doing many things,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And I'm the only one in campus administration that's still, you know, in the with the
In the
community.
community.
You know, the others are lay people, so I
So
try
you-
to make that presence. You know.
And you're a point of reference in many cases,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure. At the time of jubilees,
Yes.
holidays.
Whatever.
Yes. Jackie, do this. Jackie, do that. My mother would describe you, if she were alive, as golden, because you are there for anyone and everyone with a generous heart. So where did that heart come from?
That comes from my family, from my parents. You know, that we were just taught those kind of things, and you know the thoughtfulness in that they extended to us. And you know, my parents trusted me. I had lots of responsibilities, but you know, I've accepted them, and I lived a very structured life because I like to play sports. You know, I had school, I had work, because we put ourselves through high school, so you paid tuition. You know, and $25 an hour babysitting doesn't go too far, you know, those days. But so I was used to having structure in my life. You know,
And discipline.
yes,
And organization,
yes,
for sure.
right.
And that has served you well.
Yes.
Yes.
But
Well,
my mom and dad taught us that, you know. I mean, my mom's parents died when she was 7 and 9. And my father, his parents were divorced. And so he was in the Mayberry Sanitarium for 5 years.
What sanitarium?
Mayberry Sanitarium with TB. He had tuberculosis.
Oh, my.
And, you know, my mother was raised by her siblings, basically, then. And she worked as an aide at the hospital where my dad was, you know. So
Is
that's
that where
how
they
they met.
met?
That's how they met, yes. And my father's a convert, but very much into the faith. And, you know, it was just as
Is that
life
here in
goes on.
Michigan?
Yes, yeah, Northville, where I
North-
grew up.
Ah.
That's where my mother was living with my aunt and uncle there, you know, and then that's where my dad was in the sand. So it's kind of where we ended up, is in Northville.
And mother, father, Jackie, and?
I have an older sister, Sandy, and I have a younger sister, Bonnie. And I have an adopted brother, Dennis. He came to us when he was 11, and he'd been in 10 different homes.
Oh, my.
And so he'd run away often, but we would go look for him. He couldn't believe somebody would love him because he'd been, you know, around so much. And then we took another little boy, Danny, and he was there for a year and then went back home, you know. But my parents fostered 25 children in their years of marriage, in their 50 years of marriage.
Oh,
Many of them in their younger years. But so that's how
Wow.
it comes naturally to us, I think,
yeah.
you know.
Huge hearts.
Yes, yes.
Huge hearts.
And my sister has 2 adopted sons, you
Oh,
know.
my.
So
Had you left home
I
at
had
the time?
left,
But
yeah,
when the
after
25
Dennis, yeah.
arrived?
Because they came, well, my sister left, and then another year, 2 years later I left, and then my brother left right away, and so the house was empty. But they took little ones, you know, like waiting for adoption.
Oh.
So they might have had him for 2 weeks, you know, or 3 weeks, or a couple days, but they'd always bring one when they took one, you know. One little boy they had for 4 months, and that was hard. They still talk about Robbie Mike, you know. They had him for 4 months.
Too short a time?
Too long a time.
Too
They got
long.
too attached,
They're
you know.
too attached.
The others they had for a couple weeks, and then, you know, while they're waiting for all the adoption papers and stuff to go through.
I
you know,
see.
So.
Well, what glorious
Yeah,
parents
so-
they must have been.
We learned a lot, you know, from
Yes.
them. And then, grateful to the community, I was able to help them in their older years when they were sick, you know. So that was a real gift to be able to be for them in their need, you know, as they helped others, you know. So.
Yeah. It was payback time, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
right, right, yeah.
So Northville, Were our sisters around at that time?
We opened the school. They opened the school when I was in 2nd grade. So we went to the public school for kindergarten. I went to Plymouth, to the Catholic school, and then we opened our school. So when they came, Sister Anita Marie, Sister Sister Margaret Ruth, Sister Ann Nicolay, and Sister Ann Richard were the first 4.
Oh my!
You know.
I think they're all deceased at this.
Sister Margaret Ruth went with me on my first home visit.
Oh,
you know.
What a dear!
Yes,
yes,
it was. Yeah. So,
yes.
But it was. You know, they were just good years, and I loved. You know.
So, did you develop this desire to become a sister early on in your life?
In 2nd grade, when I was with Margaret Ruth, you know, and that just kind of developed, you know, and it was something that I always thought of and wanted to do, you know, and then kept the desires going, you know, and then in high school, the Felicians, I went to Ladywood to Livonia because that was the closest high school at that point, and so. In sophomore year, they offered me a scholarship to their prep school.
Mm-hmm.
They heard I was thinking of going to the convent, you know. So I wasn't sure what to do, you know, what's God saying? Because I wanted to do this for so long, you know, what side is this?
And your parents knew this,
yes,
obviously.
And they were very supportive one way or another, you know. But they wouldn't tell me what to do, you know, it was my decision. And I'd never been away from home, you know. And I knew if I left the Felicians, I couldn't come to Adrian. And I figured if I left, it would be because I was homesick, because I'd never been away from home, you know. I'm a homebody, still a homebody. And so but Sister Rose Edmond, who was my 8th grade teacher, Marjorie McEntee, who was here for a while, she was like my sponsor, you know, by that time. And then she was in Florida, but she sent me a letter and said, you just might want to think of this, you know, if Adrian had a prep school and the Felicians had a prep school, where would you go? Well, I had no decision to make. You know, the decision was made right there. And that helped me a great deal, you know, although I did get razzed from the Felicians because we'd lose to Dominican High in sports or to Rosary High because I was supporting the Dominicans, you know. But they came, you know, I invited them to a reception and, you know, they came, you know, a couple of them came. So it was nice, you know. And I see a couple of them once in a while, you know.
Well, if you were such a sports person, wasn't that kind of not seen in the Adrian Dominican Sisters, or
for a little bit, but not too long, because when I was in Brighton, I played racquetball with they took us as a club, the parish as a family, and so Father Mike paid, and I could go play. I played once a week, played tennis once a week, which I loved, and I was able to do the statistics, so I didn't have to pay to play, you know, so got around that. I was in Brighton for 10 years, and so I played softball in the summer, and I even took a chance at took a turn at being the president of the softball league, you know, and I was there in the summer going to school, so, you know, it was...
Oh, what a joy.
It helped me to be able to keep my sanity, to do the things I enjoyed doing, you know, so it was fun.
Well, as novices or Pashtuns, we must have had jump rope or basketball.
Well,
or something.
I never played basketball because we didn't have a gym at Ladywood.
Oh.
But, you know, being outside and that kind of thing, I didn't miss it that much until I had opportunity to play. Although I did take I played tennis, and I took my racket when I went to St. Joe's in Rockdale when I first went. And I'd go and hit the ball against the wall, you know. And I broke the exit sign. So I had to go tell the pastor I broke the exit sign. But that was like an outlet, you know. And so, but that's the only place that I really did anything until I went to Brighton, you know, because it wasn't an opportunity.
But you kept your tennis racket.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
And I found it in the park. My dad worked in the parks, and I found it and turned it in, and nobody claimed it, so that's how I got playing tennis, you know.
The rest of the story.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So Rockdale in Illinois.
Rockdale, Illinois.
Sure.
That was
Your
my
first.
first mission for 3 years.
Going back to your entrance, you had Sister Patrick Jerome as a novice director?
Right. I had Sister Rose Edmond, Lawrence Edward and Marie Eugene for postulants.
Oh.
And then we were Sister Patrick Jerome's last group.
I see.
You know.
And the name of your crowd was?
The Good Shepherd.
Good Shepherd. One of your former members died not too long ago.
Yeah, let's see which one was the. So we've had several who've passed
Gretchen.
away. Gretchen, that's right, Gretchen.
Gretchen
The
Greening.
last one I was going to say. I thought I heard somebody
Yes.
else after that. Yeah.
Yeah, Gretchen
But
Greening.
she
God
was
bless
a
her.
dear. Yes.
Yes. How many remain in the congregation?
There are 13 of us in the congregation.
But you keep in contact with the
Oh yes, and we had Golden Jubilee about 2 years ago. We had 36 of them who came for the formers that came for a weekend to be with us.
how beautiful,
You know, and it was
yeah.
just. And then we had a nice prayer service in the cemetery because we have 3 out in the cemetery, and then we have 5 others who. So they were all remembered in the prayer service out there. You know, so it was just nice to be together. In fact, we're getting vibes of. It's been 5 years. Is it time to get together again? You know.
Are you part of the organizing committee?
I have the email that
the
if
list.
somebody wants something sent to the crowd, they send it to me and I forward it to everybody. So they keep everybody in the loop, so they know what's going on. You know.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So after Rockdale came.
Loves Park, St. Bridget's and Loves Park for a year. And then I went to St. Francis Ann Arbor for a year, which was surprising because it was close to home, you know.
Well, when you were in Illinois, did your family come and
Oh, they
visit
came
you?
every month to visit, yes. But, you know, we didn't usually go near home. So.
Did they call you by your religious name?
No, they called me Jack.
Jackie.
Jack. Not even Jackie. Jack is
Jackie.
what I'm known as home, you
Oh,
know.
really?
And
Oh.
my cousins and that, now I'm Sister Jack, you know.
Oh.
That's just, I was supposed to be a boy,
Oh, I see.
so
According to your father.
according to the doctor.
Oh, really? Oh, my.
So I was delivered free because he bet my mother for sure I was a boy. So
That's so funny.
so I was delivered free. And so
What name did you have as a religious name? Were you
Oh.
given a
I had my father's name. I was Lloyd Thomas.
Oh,
Lloyd Thomas after
That's
my
a
dad.
strong
Yeah,
name.
and that was his name, and I was just happy to take it, you know.
I bet he
And
was
so
proud.
He was, you know. I told him when I changed back, you know, he was fine with it, you know, because I wasn't called that at home, you know. But yeah, he was proud of that, you know, and nothing fit with my mom and dad's name together, so I just was-
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But Jacqueline's beautiful, too.
He had a hard time spelling it, you know.
Well, several people
Yeah.
probably have.
Yeah, yeah. So did I in the beginning.
Through the years,
Yeah.
yes. So you love teaching, is that
I did,
correct?
yes. But when I went to Ann Arbor for a year, then I had to go back and get my degree. And I was not happy to come to Adrian, to Siena, to
Siena
school for
Heights,
a year.
now known as University.
But I had to get it, so I came. But I went back to Ann Arbor on the weekends because I had
So
a
you
hard
lived
time
here
being here.
in the week.
During the week and lived there on the weekends, you know. And then I got sick. I missed the last 3 weeks of school.
Oh,
So then I had to still do summer school, you know, so.
to graduate.
To graduate, you know. But I went back to Ann Arbor for a year after that. And then
And what
I
parish
taught
was that?
St. Francis in Ann Arbor. And so I taught for there just the 1 year, then we moved, and I went to Brighton. We opened placement then. Then I went to Brighton. And I had moved 5 years in a row, so I was ready for some stability. You know, I was hoping that I would be able to stay.
And how many years were that?
I was there for 10 years.
Oh, well, that's stability.
Stability, yeah. Well, I taught second grade for 6 years, and then I moved up and I taught junior high math for 4 years. My first class of second graders were my first class of eighth graders, you know.
You mentioned Father Mike. Was he the pastor?
No, Father Clocky was the first pastor, and then when he was changed, Father Mike Murphy came.
Mike Murphy.
I think Father Clocky was only a year or two, and then Mike Murphy was there. And we had lots of young priests. You know, we were like the training group. I think there were 7, you know, young priests that had came and went. You know, that I still, you know who they are, and they're still in the diocese. You know, and so, but there was just so much going on, and I was involved in the festivals, you know, which I enjoyed doing a whole lot.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I did the first communion things, and I was able to bowl with the parish, bowled in the parish, with the parish family. You know, they bowled on Saturday nights.
Did you have a name?
Oh yes, we were the dentist. We bowled with the dentist and his wife, Helen McAllister, and I, and we were Carl's Angels. So,
So you and Sister Helen McAllister and
his wife Diane
Diane
and Carl.
Mueller.
Right.
who is the wife of Dr. Carl Mueller.
That's right. That's right.
So not Charlie's Angels, but
No,
Carl's Angels.
Angels. That's how we got coined, Carl's Angels. You know.
Oh, what fun!
So, but we had, you know, I mean, there was just those kind of things. You know, the parish family was very visible. There was a lot of activity. You know, they were very friendly and invited. You know, we went to their places. We babysat for some of their families. You know, and at
Would
times.
you say that's really a gift of Vatican II?
Yes, yes, and they were very receptive, and we were just a part of them. You know, it was like a parish family because it was so active and lots going on. You know, and in fact, I still, you know, I mean, I left in '82, but some of my best friends are still
there.
Yeah. Well, they're not there, but they're around. You know, because they retired and moved to Florida or you know moved to other places. But and their kids are all grown. But you know, a few more weddings and a few baptisms and things to still keep contacts. Because I do miss parish life here. You know, because I was so involved in the parish. You know, because I was at another parish for 10 years just before I came here. So
do you ever get to St. Mary's downtown?
That's where most weekends, Saturday nights, if I'm home on the weekends, I like their 4:30 liturgy because it gives me some parish connection, just the spirit of parish and the music and things, you know.
And you hear children's voices and men's voices.
Yes, yeah, you hear a lot, but it's more just because of the parish. And because I work every single day still, I like being home in the morning. So, and 10:30 is just too late for me for Mass. The day's half over, you know, and I have things to do. And so I like 4:30 Mass. And I pick up a couple of sisters here to go to the 4:30 Mass.
That's very generous of you.
When I'm home, I'm not going to be there next weekend, so, you know.
Well, obviously Brighton is the bright star in your life, and I was fortunate enough to get to know you there for few short years. I do remember the train.
Oh yes, right in the back door.
Right in the back door. That was the strangest thing. And then all of a sudden you don't hear it anymore.
You get used to it, you know, and you don't hear it, you know. But it was, and there were just many good things about there were several sisters in and out, you know, in the time that I was there. And it just...
Wasn't Sarah Sharkey there?
Sarah was there, and Melba was there.
Melba.
And Sue Kelly was there, and now Denise Pfeffer had left, but she was there, and Elaine Weinberger had left, but she was there, you know, and Josephine, can't think of her last name, she was there. She left the community, you know, and there were two others, Marion Campbell, who left, and Sandy from Indiana, another one, you know. So, but we had
Joyce Hibbert.
Joyce Hibbert stayed. There. Mary Margaret came. Mary Margaret was my principal for 4 years.
Mary Margaret. Last name?
Pahutsky.
Yes.
And then Joyce was the last one. But Marie Decker was there.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
Brighton trained us for the mother house because all of us came back to the mother house, you know. At some point, when we left Brighton, it was back to the mother house.
And Helen McAllister's here now.
Yes, Helen is here now, yeah. So, and she was back here to the academy, and she was back at Weber. Because I did spend 3 years at Weber.
That's what that was my next question. That's where I remember. That was when Mary Sue was the director, right? Mary Sue Kennedy.
Yeah. And I volunteered one summer after renewal, and I thought, I wasn't involved in committees or things, but I felt we all need to do something for the congregation. So she asked me about coming, and I said, well, if she could take, I might come for a year, because I missed teaching when I studied, you know, and so I thought, I don't know, but I would try. So I came, and I loved what I did at Weber, you know. It was the same kind of thing, organizational kind of things. But then I had thyroid cancer.
Say that again.
I had thyroid cancer.
Oh, my.
Surgery. And it just took everything out of me. I lost my coping mechanism, which was my energy. You know, so I was here for 3 years then before I went back to, you know. But that was like midlife crisis for me, you know. But I was God provides, because I was at a place where people loved me and cared for me and helped me, you know, to be.
Did you go through chemo and
No,
radiation?
I didn't. I just had a radiation treatment, you know. But then for 5 years in a row, you had to make sure that there was no
Did
scar
anything
tissue.
ever?
No, it was all fine.
Wow.
So
What,
yeah,
what a blessing.
I've had many health blessings. Let me tell you that. So I,
But no other cancer?
well, yeah, I had oral cancer in 2002. That I had a sore in the mouth, and they thought it was nothing, but it turned out to be the cancer.
my.
So I had, but then I got it right away, and I didn't have to have any treatment, you know.
Oh,
so
what a
I was
blessing,
really blessed,
yeah.
you know. So it was. But I lived with Mary Sue here in Adrian when I moved. We lived downtown, and then we moved to Regina. And then Mary Sue called me when I left here. I went to St. Gerard's in Lansing, and I was there for 5 years. But Mary Sue called and wanted to know if I'd be interested in living community in Toledo. She had gone after sabbatical. She went to Georgia, and so she wanted to come back to Toledo. So I was happy to move back, you know, and I was helping my parents, but I could still do that from Toledo as well as Lansing. So we moved together in 1990, and I found a teaching position, and she found she was doing religious ed. It was like a trust walk because we didn't have a job, we didn't have a place to live, we didn't have a car, you know. But within
all
2
came
weeks,
together.
it all came together, and her sisters found us a place for an apartment, you know, and so it all came together well, you know. And we've been blessed because outside of the 3 years she was at the Leadership in Dominican Sisters Conference, we've lived together.
Oh,
you know,
how nice,
so
yeah.
that
Wasn't she in charge of the religious sisters in
right.
the Diocese of Toledo?
She was after
Director.
religious ed, then she was the
Director?
the director there for the sisters, and so then and from there she came to Adrian as the
Chapter
prioress, yeah. So she was the vicar for religious in Toledo, and then came here.
But you
so.
currently live in
We live in Palmyra.
You're the only Adrian Dominicans in Palmyra.
Well, there aren't many people in Palmyra.
No, I
There's
was
one
gonna
stop sign in the post office.
I know. So 2 plus probably 20 more people.
Yeah. And we rent from the Presbyterian Church, you know, and the people are very nice to us, you know, and it's nice. We're like 5.5 miles away, so it's not far, you know, and we have a comfortable place to be, and it's just nice to be able to go home and, you know, be out in the country, ride my bicycle and, you know, that kind of thing, you know, where you don't in the city, so.
Well, I happen to know you have an office on the 3rd floor of Madden across from the prioress and her assistant, Mary Weber.
Right.
Do they keep an eye on you?
Well,
or you keep an eye on them, which is...
Well, I'm not in my office a whole lot.
No.
So
No.
which they're aware. But I don't know, it was just a change. There was no place else to go. When things change over here a lot, and when the Literacy Center started, the Human Resources had to have a place to go. And so there were 3 offices in that area. So I was moved up to the 3rd floor, and Father Roland went to the 2nd floor, you know. And so I just moved to where I had to go, you know.
Besides organizing the dinners for the funeral guests, what other major projects are you responsible for?
Well, I help with the switchboard. I sort mail every day. I take care of the 2 vacation houses, make reservations and that for the vacation houses.
Now, say the 2 vacation houses.
Yes.
Mainly?
Venice and Killarney.
Killarney.
We used to have 4, but the other 2 have closed. And then
So you have the hotline, in other words.
Yeah.
People call you.
they call me.
And say, are these dates available?
And most times I'm able to accommodate people, but you know, it just depends because we've changed a lot of the processes now. People can stay longer. So when you go to Florida, you can stay for 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so-
That's so practical.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
you know. But, you know, whatever comes up, you know, I said, I consider my job as a gopher. If you need it, you go for it. You know, I can walk, I can go get things, pick things up, you know, for people. Also help some office things with doing data entry for the lunches and things, you know.
Do you have to go down and inspect Venice?
No, well, I went once.
Do you have
know.
anyone locally that looks in on?
Well, we used to, but that was early on, you know, and when we first had it. Now we just, Sister Janet and Sister Maureen have looked out the last
Sister
few
Janet.
years. Capone, because she loves to go there, and she's in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So we call on her for a few things. We have certain maintenance people that, you know, go in, and we're going, Jennifer's going to be going down to see the place, and it's time to be doing some work, you know, just like we just did some updates at Killarney, little by little, you know, did the kitchen this year, so that's
It's
people are interested.
major, and I've heard wonderful things about
the
environment
and our
there.
maintenance guys were the ones that, you know, did the renovation things, so let's see what you do a little bit each year, you know, so next year they have some things in mind, you know, but
So some days you do not know what is going to happen, and
Most
you have
days.
to respond.
Yeah.
And you have to
I
respond.
know where I have to be for the switchboard, and, you know, when
Well,
the mail
I
comes, it comes.
do
but-
know how people depend on you, Jackie, and that's probably one of your many gifts, that dependability and ever present. Like just coming over this morning to pick up a package for one of our sisters in Maria so that it could be mailed. I mean, that's generous and wonderful. So thank you for what you do for each and every one of us, and for the beautiful life you have had
Thank
and
you, Jody.
continue to
Yes,
have.
thank you very much.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Blessing.